Awesome. So today we're going to walk through setting up NeuralSeek answers as a service. So this is no code required. This is going to be our initial configuration. And then the second module that we're going to go through is a little bit more advanced, just exploring some of the capabilities of NeuralSeek. So we'll start by getting everything together. I'm not sure what emails we've sent out previously, but today we're not going to provision Watson Discovery. We're going to send out credentials for that because the web scrape can take some time sometimes. Um, so today we're going to set up Watsonx Assistant, set up NeuralSeek, and configure the stack today. So without further ado, we will get NeuralSeek started. I'm going to load into module 1 myself and start the lab. So I'm going to log into IBM Cloud and get to our resource list. I'm going to set up an instance of NeuralSeek. So we've just got to search the IBM Cloud catalog, locate NeuralSeek. Then we're going to pick the light plan available here in IBM Cloud. Optionally, we can set the name if you'd like. I'm going to set that name so that I know which one it is the right one later on. And I'm just going to go ahead and click create. This takes a little bit of time. So you should reach a landing page. Shows that we have the light plan, some first tasks. We're just going to go ahead and launch right into NeuralSeek and start setting this up. Oh, looks like we're having some technical issues today. Just going to clear my cookies really quick. If you do run into this while you're running lab, just clear your browser cookies. This will cause me to sign back into the lab, so give me a second. Awesome. This should put us back to the NeuralSeek landing page, and we should be able to launch right into NeuralSeek. Perfect. So here we'll get started on the user journey. We'll be able to set up some basic information. Today I'm going to call our bot NeuralSeek, and we will set the language to English, and this is going to be an external use case. We're able to use internal and external use cases, and we tweak the starting default parameters just a little bit for both use cases. Typically, external, we want to be a little bit more strict about confidence levels and such, so that we don't provide false information. We should have gotten an email now for the credentials for Watson Discovery. I'm just going to paste these in here. You'll need to refer to that email or ask an open question so that I'm able to paste this in if you're not able to get that email. This is already set up for a documentation page from NeuralSeek. So if you go to documentation.neuralseek.com, you'll be able to see all the info that's loaded into this knowledge base. We just set up a web crawl with Discovery to grab all that info, and we can hit next. You'll see here that we auto-generated from the knowledge base a little bit of info about the company. So we're able to edit this optionally, but this looks like a pretty good about us to me, so I'm going to go ahead and leave that alone. We're going to want to export to Watson Assistant actions. And for the purpose of this lab, we want to enable links into returned responses. And we'll go ahead and hit next. So our information, depending on what's in your knowledge base, that can be PDFs, documents, web scrapes, etc. There can be lots of different kinds of data. So in this quick start guide, we're going to select for this lab the larger blocks. Important phrases are surrounded by many lines of text that explain them because that is what our documentation looks like, right? We have tons of text and explanations. And we're also going to select I have lots of old documents or blog posts with conflicting information so that we may be able to see the date prioritization in NeuralSeek. And we'll go ahead and hit next. Finally, we are ready to seek. So this is the end of the first module, module 1-1. So at this point, NeuralSeek's ready to answer questions. We're offered some options that we're not going to explore right now, but we're able to auto-generate questions. So if this is the first time you're setting it up, you can use the auto-generate to get a quick start on your bot building. It'll go through your knowledge base and auto-generate some potential frequently asked questions so that you're able to quick start. You're able to manually input a list of questions and also upload some test questions for regression testing once you've set it up in production. So I'm just going to hit our next button on the Learning Lab, and we're going to look at setting up the virtual agent. So module 1-2, we're on Setup Watsonx Assistant. We're going to go back to IBM Cloud resource list. So from here, I'd like to create a new resource. We're going to look at Watsonx Assistant here. Just going to go to the catalog and look for Watson Assistant. We're going to leave the default selected light free plan. Going to check, read, and agree to the terms. And I'm just going to also rename this. And we're going to create our Watson Light. So now we've got to the landing page for Assistant. We're going to launch Watson Assistant and set up our first virtual agent. So in the lab, we do have some example values. If you'd rather copy paste this, you can really fill this out with whatever you'd like to see, silly or otherwise. So I'm just going to paste the values that we have in the lab guide. We are on English language. And next. This is some info about your assistant. And for the purposes of this lab, we have some default values that we can set. So I'm a student. My role is other. My role is student. And I'm not sure at this time. Depending on your use case, you may want to use different values. For this lab, we'll go ahead and continue. Here, we're offered a lot of customization options for Watson Assistant. You're able to theme it to your website, give it a name, Susan, something like that. And we're able to continue next. And we're able to preview the assistant. We don't have anything working in the assistant yet, so we're just going to hit create and continue on. Congratulations, we've built our first virtual agent. That's the end of 1-2. So we're going to move on to adding NeuralSeek to Watson Assistant. So the next lab is adding NeuralSeek as a custom extension. While we're still in Watson Assistant here, we're going to go over to the Integrations tab. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. Notice that there's a extensions section. So there's a lot of starter kits, a lot of stuff that Watson Assistant supports. Today, we're going to build a custom extension for NeuralSeek. View the Getting Started page. We'll have an Open API document to upload here. We can name this whatever we would like. Again, I'm copying from the lab guide just for ease of use. This allows us to pick the correct extension when we do configure this as an action. So importing the Open API file, we're going to have to switch back over to NeuralSeek for a moment. So in NeuralSeek, there is an Integrate tab that lands us to the Watson custom extension by default. I'll pause a little bit so that everybody has time to get here. We're offered some instructions on how to set up the custom extension as well as the API key that we'll need to use. So I'm just going to download the custom extension Open API file. And we'll move back over to Watson Assistant and upload that Open API file. And continue. Here we'll review the extension, just take a peek and make sure everything's right. So it looks like we've got the right instance URL, and we can take a second to explore some of the operations that are available from Watson Assistant. So we can seek an answer with a bunch of optional properties, set our question answer string. We're able to extract entities and use explore, some of the highlights today. And we'll just go ahead and finish. This is the end of 1.3. So we've got NeuralSeek added as a custom extension to Watson now. Moving on to 1.4. Now we need to actually add this extension to the virtual agent we just created. So while we're still on the extensions page, integrations, extensions, I'm going to click on this IBM Learning Lab, NeuralSeek, and click Add. Click Add again. This is where we need that API key that I mentioned. So when we're adding the credentials, we'll just hit next. We're going to set the authentication type to API key auth. And we're going to hop back over to NeuralSeek really quick, still on the Integrate tab for Watson Custom Extension. We're just going to copy that API key, bring it back over to Watson, and enter it in.
So it looks like I'm told.
Hit next. And you can see again, it lets us preview what operations are available. And we will click finish. Awesome. So we've now authenticated NeuralSeek with Watsonx Assistant. So we'll now be able to add it as an action. So that's our next step here, is adding starter kit actions. So I'll move on to the next bit of the lab. We're on 1.5. So we'll open up Watsonx Assistant, go to the Actions tab. You'll see that there's no actions created. So there's some default set by Assistant. We're going to grab the starter kit that we published for Watson. So we'll create an action. We'll quick start with templates. And we'll click on do more with starter kits since we built that out. And you'll see a NeuralSeek starter kit off to the right. A little bit of info about Cerebral Glue, NeuralSeek, and the starter kit. So we'll grab this starter kit. Add templates. And now you'll be at the actions page again, and you'll see our new action, NeuralSeek search. Now, we're not done yet. You'll see that the status is red, and it says that we're missing an extension. So we're just going to click on this action, and you'll see the system is training, but we'll also see this big red blocks saying the step has no content, and the extension is not fully configured when you scroll to the bottom here. So we are just going to delete this context variable assignment. the context from Watson can explode very big sometimes, and we will exceed the context limit. So we're just going to remove that, and we will edit the extension since it is not fully configured. And it allows us to pick a new extension, and we will pick the IBM Learning Lab extension that we set up just a little bit ago. This is available after you authenticate Watson with NeuralSeek. And we will choose the operation as seek an answer. We will set the question to a session variable, and it is query text. Session variable query text. And feel free to take a moment just to take a peek at all the other options that we offer. For example, with bring your own large language model, you can pick the large language model, you can set the return language, you can set the last turn, personalize info. There's tons of options in here. Feel free to check out our documentation for more info there. Leaving that just to query text, we're going to apply, and that block is no longer red. So we now have this configured. We'll be able to save this, successfully saved, and close. Noticing now that our status is green, there's no errors, and we now have a working NeuralSeek search. Now, NeuralSeek is connected to your Watson virtual agent, and it is ready to use. Next, we will move on to 1.6. So right now, nothing will trigger this NeuralSeek search action. Even though it's ready to go, it's not all ready to go. By default, Watson is going to give you a error message when we can't find a matching action. So that by default, there is no actions to match with NeuralSeek. There's no examples. So we're going to configure fallback search here. We're going to go to no action matches. We're going to delete the fallback, the step 2 right here. We're just going to hit the little trash can, delete. We're going to click on the step 1. We're going to remove the condition. So we're just going to no action matches, delete. And then right now, we're going to preview this. So we're going to save, hit preview, and ask a question. Why is the sky blue? This is just showing that our no action matches still triggers this action. Fallback search is not yet configured. So we're going to fix this, right? We're going to remove what assistant says. We're going to delete that message. We're going to click on end the action. We're going to change that to go to a sub action. From here, we'll click on our new NeuralSeek search action and end the action after this action is completed. Apply. So you'll see now that this first conversation step will automatically redirect to the sub action NeuralSeek search. We can save, and now we can preview once more. Now that that's saved, we can ask again, why is the sky blue? And you'll see that this now reaches out to NeuralSeek search, and we're waiting on a generative answer as I speak. Here we are.
Yeah, so
NeuralSeek is configured and Watsonx is configured, and Watsonx is delivering generative AI fallback searches based on your knowledge base, or in this case, our knowledge base. That is the end of module 1. So now we have NeuralSeek and we have NeuralSeek configured to our knowledge base. And now we have NeuralSeek configured to Watsonx Assistant as well. So I just want to offer questions, comments, make sure everybody did indeed finish module 1 before we move on to module 2. If nothing pops up here in a second, I will continue. Perfect. We're right about halfway through the lab too. That's a great timeline. All right, so if you hit the finished button and it brings you back to the top of the module 1, so we'll just grab module 2 from the sidebar. You'll see module 2 is S.C.A.L.E. So this is an acronym for Seek, Curate, Analytics, Logs, and Explore. It was quite a eureka moment when we figured that out. This also lines up with the tabs in the UI, coincidentally, which I thought was pretty cool. I see something in the chat here. Awesome, that was just Joy. Okay, cool. So I'm going to go ahead and start this tab. All right, module 2-1, NeuralSeek Seek. So this will put us back into NeuralSeek. We're going to go over to the Seek tab. So let's ask it something that we know is not in the knowledge base, right? This is a NeuralSeek documentation knowledge base, so this would be a good time to ask, why is the sky blue? What makes the Earth go round? Or what is the formula for pi? So I'm just going to ask this, what is the formula for pi? You'll see that it says I'm not an expert in this. So this is because the semantic match, our confidence score is 0. This is effectively a hallucination to anybody concerned, right? There's nothing in our documentation that mentions this, and we don't know anything about it. So we want to block this answer or prepend a message like, I'm not an expert in this, saying that we're not confident. We see that there's no knowledge base content, there's no confidence, there's nothing here. So let's ask it something that we know is in the knowledge base. So you could ask it, what's NeuralSeek? What's NeuralSeek about? Or one of our specific features. In this example, I'm going to ask, what's the NeuralSeek Seek feature, right? And we should get a reasonable reply here. Awesome. So there's quite a bit of information here. Depending on the question you asked, you may see a slightly different reply here. Hopefully, you'll be seeing a large semantic match, definitely above 10%. But the idea here is that this is a really good answer. The semantic match says this is probably answering the question that the user asked. We also do a little bit of semantic analysis about the single source, giving us an idea whether it was built from many data sources or just one, or generally describing why we think that this is the score we got. Gives us an idea of knowledge base coverage, confidence. You're also able to toggle the answer provenance on and off. So you'll notice that this is highlighted for some reason. You're able to click on that and it'll drill down to exactly where we got that text. This is how we keep the humans in the loop. This is how you can trust this generative AI because we can see where the answers are being built from, the exact word for word text, where it came from, and we can additionally set relevancy, say, I don't like this answer or this source, and say we want to make it not so relevant. Let's try a more nuanced question. So I'm going to ask it, why should I use NeuralSeek with a knowledge base instead of just ChatGPT, right? That's not so clear of a question. It's not something that I can always read and answer myself from a documentation, right? I almost need a summary of it. So again, we can see we got a reasonable confidence score. This came back from a handful of different sources. It's a lot more colorful than the last answer, right? But it gives us a pretty good reply about how we curate information from a specific set and ChatGPT uses general understanding. We have a reasonable semantic match. I would expect something between 1 and 5% to be a bad answer, and anything above 10 to 15 a reasonable answer. Your use case may vary. In a healthcare industry, I would probably set a higher semantic match confidence. Let's see. So here we can highlight again semantic match, the semantic analysis, trying to help us understand why we got the score that we did. knowledge base coverage and confidence. So we definitely think that there was confidence in answering the question. We had data to answer it, and we think that we had enough coverage. We had enough documents that covered the query we made. We also get to see the response time and how many results and how many got filtered. So if we have dates mentioned in the knowledge base, think like a blog post or something, we'll apply a penalty to older dates versus newer dates, which is incredibly helpful. And again, we're able to filter down, see exactly where the words came from, and see exactly where these sources came from. So I'm able to look at this and see, wow, this came from semantic analytics, and I'm able to look at the documentation page that this came from. Super helpful. From here, we can ask additional questions if you choose. Here's another good one, a good example from the bottom of our lab. PII is important in a lot of industries. And as NeuralSeek tells me, we can flag, mask, hide, or delete detected PII to ensure data privacy. And it links us directly to that page that tells us all about it, right? We can learn more. Super helpful to understand where your answers are coming from. We also let you use thumbs up and thumbs down. I like this answer. It's a good answer. So let's move on to the next module. So we'll move on to curate. That's 2.2. This is highlighting everything in the curate tab. So if you'd like, you can follow along with the user guide, user journey here. For the purpose of this lab, I'm going to skip. And now we're able to drill down and see all the answers that we've been given and the questions and examples. So for right now, let's highlight the difference between, the seek feature, right? I asked, what's NeuralSeek's seek feature? It gave me an answer that I think is pretty reasonable. And it thinks that we had 64% coverage and 59% confidence that we answered the human's question. The PII question that I rated highly, the rating doesn't mean anything in this context, but you can see that our confidence was 100%. We think we answered that without question.
I did it.
You can also see like, why is the sky blue? You can see that our coverage was 4%. There was very little knowledge-based coverage, and we do not think that we answered the question because it was effectively a hallucination. As far as our knowledge base is concerned, we have no data. Same for the formula pi. We have no data in there, so it's effectively a hallucination. So next is caching. So we're able to take a look at caching. We have two different kinds of caches, right? So we're going to go to show advanced options and intent matching and cache configuration. So in here, we're able to set answer caches to 1 and scroll down and we'll hit save. Back to curate. We're able to take a look at some of these. Let's look at the inaccurate answer, right?
I did exactly what you did, and I got a whole one.
Take an example to show you. Let's say I think this is wrong. Put in some new numbers in here. We'll save. So you can see that this is an edited answer now. I'm just going to take a peek at this. We're going to ask again, what is the formula for pi? Now, we didn't have a semantic match before. It was 0%. But as a subject matter expert, I went in and edited that answer. We set the edited cache to 1. And now that we have a cached answer, we're going to serve only that answer, no longer reaching out to language generation and saying that this is 100% confident because we manually edit it. I think that's a nice feature. That is where we come in with the edited answers. Some other stuff that I can highlight here. when you highlight something and click on it, you can click multiple of these. We're able to export out to Watson Assistant Actions. So if you'd like to get a quick start on your bot, you're able to export directly to a JSON configuration and import it into Watson. You're able to edit the category that this answer was set into. Um, you're able to download these to CSVs and re-upload them on the homepage. So an example of this might be, I have access to come in here and edit these answers, but a subject matter expert may not. So you're able to export these out to a CSV, send them around your team, and then re-import them in as edited answers to help train future language generation. Um, I think that highlights pretty much it. We can move on to the analytics tab from here. So 2.3, look at an overview of the analytics tab. So since we just created this, you're not going to have a look back period, but typically you would use this to see what people are asking in the last 30 to 1 days. And it gives you a similar overview to the curate tab, right? You can get an idea of what people are asking, how much coverage and confidence you have for each question. Additionally, we give you a reasonable summary about what we think you need to update your documentation around. Basically, this is a combination of low coverage responses and low coverage answers, low confidence answers, right? Um, Data security and privacy. This is questions that are being asked that we should update our documentation around. The idea is that you really shouldn't have to come in here and edit, curate answers all the time. If you have an up to date and accurate source ground truth in your knowledge base, that is where you should update your material and focus your time. Um, I think that highlights analytics pretty well. Um, we can move on to the next module for logs tab. This one is pretty cut and dry. It's pretty simple. You're able to get an idea of what questions are being asked and where. So in Watson, you're able to set the session ID to an arbitrary string or have a randomly generated one. So maintaining context based on one session ID is common. But you're also able to see questions and answers given, and you're also able to search, right? So if I want to search private info, we're able to search for any messages mentioning private and get an idea of time, date, and the answers given. Moving on to explore. This is the real meat and potatoes of this part of the lab, right? So we'll move over to the explore tab. So moving here, I'm going to stay on this journey, right? And kind of talk about what we do with explore. So this is an open-ended playground for large language models. We're able to do a lot with this, and it's very powerful. Many of you might be familiar with ChatGPT and other large language models. The ability to go in and talk to it, right? Write me a memo about Watsonx and include, these 4 features that I want to talk about. We abstract some of that away from you and let you generate things from data really quickly. So in this first example, I'm going to create a marketing email with Visual Editor and Explore. So we're going to look at these example templates. If you already skipped away from the screen, there's just a load template button near the bottom. So I'm going to go example templates and write a prospecting email. So you'll see based on our drag and drop editor that we've already got some of this built as a template. So at the top, I'm going to highlight the ability to go in and write a prompt, just like you would any other large language model. So I'm going to say, write a marketing email based on this list. In the website text, I'm going to grab a URL from our knowledge base. I will give you guys just 1 second, but I'm going to also paste this into our chat. You should be able to open that up in a browser and copy the link out of there. This is one example. You're really able to use any text-based URL. So I'm just going to paste that in. Now you'll see how this isn't a straight line down. So the flow here is you have a prompt, you have data, and in this case, we're chaining this. So we're going to reach out to the website. We're going to grab all the text off of this page. We're going to type it into summarize. We're going to bring it down to 1,500 characters if it's longer than that. And then we're going to ask the large language model to create a bulleted list of features based on this document that's coming from the website text, summarize. That text lands to the large language model and it creates a bulleted list. Then that content gets piped back down to send to LLM again. And as you can see, it sends all previous content to the large language model. So realistically, the large language model will see write a marketing email based on this list, and it'll see a bulleted list generated from this block and then send to the LLM. So let's go ahead and evaluate that. We're going to hit the blue evaluate button. You'll see the bulleted list gets created, and then the memo starts getting created, the marketing email. Finally, once it's finished generating, you'll see the final output. So you have your subject, your name, and some info about NeuralSeek's Explore platform, right? You're also able to click on Microsoft Word and download that as a doc file. You're able to save this as a template, and you're also able to clear it. So evaluating this a little bit more, we are able to look at details. We're able to see how many characters were generated, semantic match score based on this, and some source coverage. Also, keywords, unattributed terms. We'll go ahead and close that. So let's try another example, right? So not everybody wants to use website text documentation. We did all that work setting up a knowledge base, right? So you can see we have a few options for getting data. In this case, we're going to just clear and start from scratch, right? So we'll go to load template again, example templates. And this time I want to write a memo to my staff. So again, noticing step by step, we're able to look at step A. We're able to look at the prompt to the large language model. We're able to look at what we're searching. So this is the query back to our documentation source. So in this case, I'd like you to change it to Explore since our documentation source is based on NeuralSeek. Talking about Explore, that's perfect. And then you see that this gets sent to the large language model. So effectively, we're seeing write a memo to staff discussing the following capabilities. We'll get a raw query back from Discovery with our documentation related to Explore, and then send that to the large language model to process. So I'm just going to hit evaluate. So this is a really good memo, right? It talks about our Explore platform. It's a little bit longer than I would like, right? So I'm going to lead into our next example right here without clearing, without changing anything yet. So the real power of Explore is the ability to chain things from node to node and modify data. So we're able to summarize, we're able to extract keywords, remove PII. We're able to do a lot of things. This is a very rudimentary example that I'm going to show you. So I don't like how long this is, or maybe I don't like how it's worded. Maybe I'd like to use simpler language or more technical language or target an audience. So going back to the visual editor, I'm going to send to large language model again. You'll see a new card appears. So I'm just going to drag that card over to indicate that it should be piped or it should be chained. And I'm going to add a prompt to this. So in our example here, I'm going to condense this down to 2 paragraphs. Save, and we'll evaluate again. And you see this big long memo is getting created again, and it shrinks it back down to just 2 paragraphs. So the possibilities here are endless, right? I can do a send to large language model again and rewrite this memo in the voice of a cowboy and evaluate again. So we're going to have a textual prompt, search the knowledge base for explore features, send that to the large language model, send it to the large language model again to condense it, and then send that condensed version back to the large language model with a new prompt to rewrite it in a cowboy's voice. And now you see we have a totally different memo to a totally different demographic, and it's reasonably effortless to generate this, modify it, and um, have fun with it, really. I think that is the end of scale here. So we have explored just about every bit of NeuralSeek from a high level view. I'd like to open it up to Q&A, right? I'd like to see your guys' thoughts on how we can use this.